I had a little conversation this morning with AI. Um, this particular video has to do with the God will not be mocked, which is taught in the Mormon temple in the endowment ceremony, and also the taking of the name of God in vain. I had a little conversation with AI, and I'm just going to go ahead and play it first and then perhaps make comment afterward. Read your last answer.
Sure. Here's what I wrote. The practices of certain religious institutions, such as the LDS Church's financial strategies, present a profound ethical and spiritual dilemma that demands critical reflection. At the heart of Christianity lies the call to love, humility, and service to the least among us. Jesus himself said, "Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me." Matthew 25:40. Yet, when we examine the reported $250 billion amassed by the LDS Church, largely through tithes and fast offerings meant for sacred purposes, it becomes increasingly clear that such accumulation, paired with its application, stands in direct opposition to Christ's teachings. This practice is not merely a financial issue, it is a spiritual one, striking at the core of Christian ethics. Tithes and offerings are given in faith, in the name of God, with the expectation that these resources will uplift the poor, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and provide for the widow and the orphan. Instead, when these sacred funds are hoarded, invested, and used to grow wealth, ultimately benefiting church authorities with six-figure incomes, free education, and housing, this represents a grave betrayal of trust. It twists the intended purpose of those offerings into something self-serving and indulgent. The LDS Church's justification that the interest earned from investments belongs to the institution rather than the sacred mission it was intended for is a chilling rationalization. If $100 in tithes grows to $150 through investment, it is argued that the additional $50 can be used for the authorities' comfort. Yet, in this reasoning lies the essence of mocking God. Such behavior dismisses the spiritual accountability of stewardship and treats what was given in faith as a mere financial instrument. It prioritizes institutional wealth and leadership privileges over global suffering, trivializing the sacred commitment made to the faithful who give out of devotion. This misuse of sacred resources embodies what it means to take the Lord's name in vain. While the traditional understanding of this commandment often focuses on verbal misuse, profanity, or casual use of God's name, its deeper meaning involves misrepresenting God's character and intentions. When a religious institution claims to act in God's name while hoarding wealth, amassing power, and neglecting the world's poor and vulnerable, it profoundly misrepresents divine principles. Such actions equate to using the Lord's name in vain, not just in words but in deeds, which are far more damaging to faith and morality. The evilness of this behavior becomes even starker when considered through the lens of mocking God. Galatians 6:7 states, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." Mocking God involves disregarding his authority and principles, acting as though his justice and expectations do not matter. By creating an empire of wealth while poverty ravages countless lives worldwide, these institutions trivialize God's commandments of compassion, generosity, and humility. They claim to follow Christ, yet live in ways that contradict his every teaching. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, a direct opposition to the life-affirming and selfless principles of Christ. This behavior is Antichrist not merely in the theological sense, but in its practical consequences. It is to reject Christ's call to care for the least of these, and instead to elevate greed, comfort, and privilege. Such practices perpetuate inequality, suffering, and spiritual disillusionment, driving people away from faith rather than toward it. Ultimately, these actions reveal a troubling hypocrisy. Religious leaders who benefit from such systems claim to represent God's will, yet their actions defy the very principles they preach. This dissonance not only erodes trust, but also disrespects the sacredness of their mission. It is a mockery of God, a vain use of his name, and an embodiment of behaviors Christ himself would have condemned. As we reflect on these realities, the call to action becomes clear. Those who follow Christ must hold religious institutions accountable, demanding transparency, integrity, and true commitment to the values they espouse. Wealth, when entrusted in faith, must serve the purpose for which it was given: to love, to heal, and to uplift. Anything less is a betrayal of God, of humanity, and of the sacred trust placed in spiritual leaders. Let me know if you'd like to adjust or refine any part of this.
Well, that's not an anti-Mormon book. That's not a apostate speaking. That's not anything except the truth. I simply went into AI, I put the facts in there, and then said to AI, a machine. Maybe more than a machine these days. I'm not sure that, well, I'm not going to go there. A machine said, the Mormon church is a ripoff. They're liars. They're cheaters. They're thieves. I didn't put the word in there, Antichrist. The machine put the word in there, Antichrist. I didn't put anything in there except the facts. The Mormon church puts money that's put aside in tithing and fast offerings into investments. And then they say, we're going to build a mall, but it's not going to be with tithing funds. It's going to be with profits from investments. I've just come to the realization these last days, this is more than just a circus, more than a comedy act. It's more than a Three Stooges movie. Somebody has to speak up and say the truth. It's a vicious, hideous, antichrist cult. Can be deadly. A lot of people spend their time, their energy, their efforts, and their wherewithal to just simply say the church is not true. I think at this point, with the technology that we have, any normal human being could go into Gemini, go into GPT, go into Alexa, go into Siri, go into, there's 2 or 3 other platforms that I use. It's obvious the Mormon church isn't true. That's a given. That's a given these days. What nobody else is concentrating on is the cult behavior, the Antichrist, the great and abominable church, the mockery of God, the using the Lord's name in vain. It's not simply enough these days to say, oh, it's not true. A fool, a 6th grader would pull up AI, put in the facts, and AI is going to say it's silly. Certainly, it's not true. But what is it doing beyond that? Is it okay for you and I to say, well, the church isn't true, and these are the facts? That's a given. That's a given. Somebody has to stand up and say, it's more than just not true. It is satanic. It is evil. The leadership has taken in some very innocent victims who are members of the church. The membership basically is not Antichrist. The membership and members of the church will not take the Lord's name in vain and mock God. It's their leadership. The leadership has gone basically crazy. It is deadly. It is horrendous. They lie, they cheat, they steal with the IRS and with the Federal Trade Commission and the fidelity fines that they got on their hiding income. I simply asked AI this morning after a conversation with another gentleman, What is the Mormon Church doing? Let me put these facts into you, AI, and then I want you to think. Don't give me the truth, AI. I've heard the Mormon truth. I watched last night the entire presentation of Nelson, calling himself the prophet. Nelson spending $1 million on his birthday party. Nelson saying all the right things. Oh, love, companionship. I'm sorry. All the principles of Christ. He put on the entire mask of Jesus Christ. He said, basically, don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain. He said, listen to my words. Don't look into my bank account. Don't look into my background. Don't look into anything that I do. Just listen to my words that I'm going to hide behind the facade of the principles of Jesus Christ. I'm not going to live those principles. I'm just going to speak those principles. I'm going to let hungry people starve. I'm going to let people who need medical supplies die. I'm going to basically let the naked have no clothing. I'm not going to buy shoes. I'm not going to buy socks. I'm going to have a 6-figure income for myself and my friends. I'm going to spend my 95th birthday, a party that may have been close to $1 million. And then I wanted to have the members of the church, those that paid the funds for tithing and fast offering, I'm going to spend $1 million like Gordon Hinckley did for my birthday. And Gordon Hinckley tore down the Alumni Center at BYU, built a brand new one, and put his own name on it. It's the Hinckley Alumni House now. I hear what they say, but I see what they do. And basically, the principles that Christ left here upon the earth do not exist in the Mormon Church. They're just not there. I was hoping they were going to be there for 50 years. I didn't want to believe the red flags. I didn't want to believe the truth. I didn't want to do these later videos here. After 12 years of videos I did in the Mormon Church, they were basically my experiences. It wasn't a positive experience for me. I never said it wasn't true. I never said it was hideous. I never said you have to resign. You have to not join. It's dangerous. Now I do. I've grown. I've learned. I've developed. I've watched. I've listened to Holland. I've listened to Oakes. I've listened to Nelson, Orthor. I've listened. They say all the right things. They say all the right things. But when I put on my spiritual glasses, the ones that have been given me and granted me by Jesus Christ, I see the great and abominable church. I never said Antichrist, ever, till today. I didn't say Antichrist. Basically, AI said Antichrist. You can see the technology. You live with me long enough, you see how this technology tries to interfere with the information coming out. So I'll go ahead and end this. You heard what AI said. You hear me backing up what AI said. You have every ability to do exactly what I just did. If you're a Mormon or you're thinking of being a Mormon or you want to know, just get into GPT-4 and say, these are the facts. Analyze these facts for me. And you'll get exactly what I got there. So, the great and abominable church, mocking God, taking God's name in vain. It's a cult. Deadly, deadly, evil, antichrist cult.